Have you ever had a teacher with literally no common sense? I was in Miss Blake's chemistry class when the fire alarm started blaring. Everyone immediately stood up and headed for the door, like we'd been taught since kindergarten, but Miss Blake jumped in front of the door and blocked it with her arms. Sit down right now. This is clearly just another fire drill. I'm not letting you miss my lesson because some administrator decided to test the alarm system. My friend Josh raised his hand, but miss, we're supposed to evacuate when we hear the alarm. That's the rule. Miss Blake crossed her arms and glared at him. The only rule that matters in my classroom is what I say. Anyone who leaves will get detention for the rest of the week. The alarm kept going. It wasn't stopping like the drills usually did. Most of us sat back down because nobody wanted detention, but something felt wrong. The alarm had been going for like 3 minutes straight now. And usually the drills only lasted 30 seconds. Then I noticed it. A weird smell coming through the air vents. It smelled like burnt plastic mixed with smoke. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a drill. I pulled out my phone and texted my older sister, Emma, who was in calculus down the hall. Is this a real fire? She texted back immediately. Yes, kitchen caught fire. We're all outside. Where are you? My heart started pounding. I showed the text to my desk partner, Katie. Her eyes went wide. She whispered to the kid behind her, and soon half the class was looking at my phone. Miss Blake. Katie said, we need to leave. It's a real fire. Miss Blake rolled her eyes. Nice try. I'm not falling for some fake text message. Phones away. The smoke smell was getting stronger. I could see other kids in the hallway through the door window running toward the exits. Teachers were rushing past our classroom looking panicked. That's when Josh stood up. I'm leaving. This is stupid. Sit down or you're suspended, Miss Blake yelled, but Josh didn't sit down. He walked straight to the door. You can suspend me if we don't die today. And that's when everyone lost it. Half the class jumped up and rushed the door. Miss Blake tried to grab Josh's backpack, but he yanked it away from her. Move, he shouted. We all pushed past her and ran into the hallway. The smoke was way thicker out there. You could barely see the exit signs through the haze. Other classrooms were empty. We were literally the last people in the building. We ran down the stairs two at a time. Josh was in front leading everyone. By the time we got outside, the fire trucks were already there. Thick black smoke was pouring out of the cafeteria windows. The principal, Mr. Davis, was doing head count when he saw us. Where have you been? We've been looking for you. Miss Blake wouldn't let us leave, Josh panted. Mr. Davis's face went red. What do you mean she wouldn't let you leave? We all started talking at once, explaining what happened. Mr. Davis looked like he was going to explode. He got on his radio and called for someone to find Miss Blake. Turns out she was still in the classroom when the security guard finally got to her. She was sitting at her desk grading papers like nothing was happening. The smoke had gotten so thick on the second floor that they had to bring her out with oxygen. The fire chief later told us we got out just in time. The ceiling tiles in that hallway collapsed like 2 minutes after we ran through it. If we'd stayed in that room any longer, we could have been trapped. Miss Blake tried to defend herself to the school board. She claimed she was just following her teaching guidelines about not disrupting class time. But the fire chief testified that her actions put 23 students in serious danger. She was fired immediately and banned from teaching in our school district ever again. None of us could believe it actually happened. I mean, we used to joke about teachers being out of touch or power hungry, but Miss Blake wasn't just clueless, she was dangerous. The idea that someone would prioritize their lesson plan over human lives still makes my skin crawl. Josh became kind of a legend after that. People made memes with his quote, "You can suspend me if we don't die today." He got a handshake from the fire chief, a special award from the school board, and even a segment on the local news titled "Teen Hero Saves Class from Fire." As for the rest of us, we all learned to big things that day. Trust your instincts, especially when something smells like burning plastic. Just because someone's in charge doesn't mean they're right. If it weren't for Josh standing up and calling out the absurdity of it all, who knows what would have happened? The idea that Miss Blake would rather we risk choking on smoke than miss a chemistry lecture is something none of us will ever forget, and you better believe every single fire drill after that. We were the first ones out the door. You don't deserve this house. My sister-in-law spat, but I own 50%. No prenup. My husband makes $300,000. Now she's out of the will and I'm raising her son. Original post. My husband, a 38-year-old male, and I, a 33-year-old female, just purchased our first home. He has a fairly high-paying job, and while I also work and earn a decent salary, our home buying budget was definitely more influenced by his income. We had his family over last week. Overall, I've always really liked his parents. They've always been kind to me and fun to be around. I haven't spent much time with his sister outside of holiday gatherings, but her son My husband's nephew has stayed with us for a week every summer for the past few years. So I know him quite well and love him. So everyone I mentioned came over and we gave them a tour of the house. At one point, I was showing my sister-in-law a kitchenette in the basement and said something along the lines of, "It's great that our house has this space now, so if you visit us, it'll be like having your own little apartment." She responded, "Is it your house, too?" I was immediately confused, though I figured maybe she assumed my husband bought it on his own. I said, "Yes, we bought it together." Then she said, "Do you think you deserve to own half of this house?" "I don't know, I just think that's crazy." I was completely shocked. I mostly panicked and just said, "Well, yes, I do." Then I left the basement. I told my husband right away, privately away from his family, and he immediately went to confront his sister. I went to spend time with his parents and didn't mention anything. But then we heard yelling outside. My husband and his sister were shouting at each other. I know siblings can be different from each other, but I had never heard him raise his voice like that before. I heard him tell her that we don't have a prenuptial agreement and she called him an idiot. I had to explain everything to his parents. They stepped in and intervened, then left quickly with his sister and nephew. Thankfully, the nephew didn't hear anything thanks to the magic of video games. His mother apologized to me on the way out. I followed up with my husband later and he was livid, much angrier than I expected. He explained that before we got married, his sister had been the beneficiary of his life insurance policy, and he suspects she's upset about being effectively removed from access to any of his assets. We've been married for 3 years. He also mentioned that she had texted him a few weeks ago during the home buying process, asking if she could be added to the house paperwork. He had just ignored the message. His parents have since reached out and have been incredibly kind and apologetic. They really want to mend things and asked if I'd be willing to talk to his sister. I've been trying to step away from the situation and told them I think it's something between my husband and his sister now. Is that fair? Of course, I'm hurt by what she said, but ultimately, if she has an issue with how he handles his finances and assets, that's something between the two of them, right? I feel really bad because his family has always been sweet to me and I truly adore his nephew, so I do want things to get resolved. Edit. Wow. This post got a lot more attention than I expected. I'll post an update soon. We're planning to talk everything through today and also have a discussion with his parents about how to move forward. I agree with basically all of you and I don't plan to speak with his sister until she apologizes. To address some common questions, my nephew's father has not been involved for a long time. My sister-in-law has been in and out of relationships, but not with the greatest people. She's younger and there are no other siblings. Yes, there has been a pattern of her receiving more help from their parents, but that's mostly because she really needs it as a single mother, while my husband has always been quite independent. I promise I don't go around telling people that we don't have a prenuptial agreement. My husband entered the marriage with significant assets, so when friends and family asked about a prenup, it usually came from a place of genuine concern or care. I appreciated that and felt comfortable sharing how we came to our decision. No one ever pushed back on it. I never brought it up with his sister and I don't think she knew until my husband blurted it out during the argument. Something like, "We don't even have a prenup. We are planning to have children, but even if we do, we would still be able to support our nephew the way we currently do. He just officially became a teenager and his college fund is nearly complete. At this point, we don't add much to it anymore. It's mostly just growing on its own now." Top comments. Comment 1. What could you even say to your sister-in-law? I think it's clear that the issue isn't really about you. It's that your sister-in-law seems to believe that everything your husband owns should also be hers. That's something your husband needs to address directly, not you. Just continue being polite and composed. You handled this situation perfectly. It's not your fight and your husband clearly has your back. Your sister-in-law sounds unhinged. Original poster. I know you're right. It's just really frustrating. We've already had those awkward conversations explaining why we don't have a prenuptial agreement to some friends and family. I honestly don't mind talking about those things, but this is different. She's not coming from a place of curiosity or wanting to understand. It's wild to me how quickly things escalated just because we bought a house. Comment 2. You shouldn't have to explain to anyone whether or not you have a prenuptial agreement. Comment 3. Asking about a prenuptial agreement is an extremely rude question. Is his family significantly more wealthy? Did he marry outside his religion? Maybe they're hoping to pressure him into a divorce before children come into the picture. Did his sister lend him a lot of money, or do they know something about him that you, the original poster, don't? Update 1. Holy crap, everyone. I was not expecting this much feedback, but I'm incredibly grateful. Reading through so many of your comments was really affirming and validating. And also a little humbling since our recent move brought us a bit outside of town. I'm still near my social circle, but didn't immediately have someone to vent to, and honestly, you all were so helpful in that way. To give an update, she was secretly planning his murder to get the life insurance payout. No, not really. After talking at length with both my husband and his parents, we were able to figure out a few things. My husband never told his sister that she had been replaced as the beneficiary on everything. He just assumed she would know that. During the house purchase, she had texted him something like, "Hey, do you need my signature for anything on this new house?" And he had replied with, "No." She then basically asked if the house was an asset set up like his life insurance. And he told her everything was taken care of and that I was on all the paperwork. She responded with, "Okay, so I honestly think part of this stems from her not understanding how marriage works. She genuinely seemed to expect that nothing would change after we got married." I also found out she had spoken to their parents about it, and her main concern was that if something happened to my husband, she was worried I wouldn't continue helping her son the way we have as a couple. My mother-in-law and father-in-law said they assured her not to worry and that I love my nephew. But this was the concern brewing behind the scenes before the whole blow-up happened. They also admitted that they may have unintentionally encouraged this mindset. They've always emphasized the importance of their kids supporting each other. But due to the dynamics in the family, what that really looked like was extra pressure on my husband and this implicit "your brother will always be there for you" message, directed at his sister. This dynamic was especially strong in the years before I met and married him. Back then, his parents genuinely believed he would stay a lifelong bachelor, which wasn't a wrong assumption at the time. He definitely had that mindset. So, in their eyes, the two siblings were each other's lifelong person. Because of that, there was this underlying fallout building for years that I didn't even know existed. I also learned that my sister-in-law is in a rough financial situation due to issues in the past. The family has collectively decided not to give her cash directly, but they do things like pay utility bills or buy groceries for her. So she's been struggling and probably feeling desperate and jealous, obviously. None of this excuses her behavior, and I'm not speaking to her until she gives me an apology. My husband also said he needs at least a week or two before he'll speak with her, but he does plan to eventually. His parents completely agree and understand. They're going to let her know that we've discussed the family dynamics, and that she needs to recognize her behavior and take responsibility for her part in this. So, hopefully that will be the start of some healing. Being too understanding and too flexible has always been something I've struggled with. Reading your feedback and seeing just how messed up this situation actually was has helped me a lot. Thank you. There's a fine line between being easygoing and being a doormat, and I'm actively working on understanding the difference between the two. Top comments. Comment 1. I'm glad that this has been talked through. You absolutely deserve an apology from her. Her financial problems aren't your responsibility, and the family needs to stop enabling her by continuing to help like this. Comment 2. It's wild that her entire plan was just to leech off her brother and pawn off her child's expenses on other people. Seriously, get it together. She chose to have a child. She's far too old to be acting like such a dependent mess. Comment 3. Yeah, the whole idea that they'll be each other's lifelong person is honestly disturbing. It's borderline emotional incest. Even if your husband had stayed single forever, that wouldn't justify her feeling entitled to him or his resources. His parents should have focused on teaching her independence, not building that dynamic. Comment 4. It really sounds like she's just mad that you're the one receiving the payout now. She assumed she was going to get everything until you came into the picture. That kind of entitlement is unreal. Comment 5. Exactly. She was questioning whether you, his wife, should be on the house title, but apparently thought she should be included instead. That's completely delusional. Note: I am not the original poster. Please do not harass the original poster. Also, remember the no brigading rule and please be respectful in the comments. That's all about the story 1. Now, let's explore next story. Original post: me 14-year-old female, brother Daniel 16-year-old male. I used to live in City X where I was born and raised. All of my friends are there and all of my extracurricular opportunities were based there. To like the strong debate circuit, the youth activism work I was involved in, and amazing internship opportunities. But my brother completely screwed everything up about a year ago, and now all of that is gone because of him. I won't go into the exact details of what he did, but it was bad. It wasn't something with serious legal consequences, but it was incredibly stupid and extremely problematic. It blew up all over social media. He also got in trouble at school, and he insisted he couldn't stay because his reputation was ruined. Personally, I think he should have considered that before doing something so awful. My parents were furious at first, but they eventually softened toward him because he claimed he was getting bullied. Wanting to protect his future, they moved him to 2 other high schools. But the same thing happened there because everyone already knew about the incident. So my parents and Daniel decided to move to an entirely different state, city. Why? Without even asking me. Sure, his future matters, but why should mine be sacrificed? Because of his screw-up, City Y is tiny, has worse schools, and no debate league at all. I also had to leave behind all my friends. No one here knows what Daniel did, so he's happy. My parents are happy because he's happy. I'm the only one miserable, and I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I had a real future in debate. A lot of people said I had a shot at being nationally ranked if I had the right coaching and exposure. It could have led to major scholarships and college opportunities. But instead Daniel messed up big time, and now I'm stuck paying the price with him. I've been in City Y for 4 months now. I didn't even speak to Daniel for the first 2 months. But now that we're all living under one roof, every time I see him, my frustration just builds. At dinner, my brother started talking to my parents about his college prospects. I just snapped. The conversation went like this: Daniel, I think I have a good shot at getting into state university. Me? Yeah, right? With what you did last year. If you think running away to a different city and ruining my life will make what you did disappear, you're in for a rude awakening, Daniel. You're such a get over it already. Mom, stop blaming your brother. You need to stop obsessing over debate and start adjusting to City Y. Apologize for what you said, Dad. State University won't know about it. Me, if we don't move back to City X, I'll email every single college you apply to with screenshots and evidence. That's a promise, not a threat. My parents were livid, but I wasn't joking. Am I the hero, or is it my brother and parents? Relevant comments and original posters. Replies. Comment 1 info. What exactly did he do that got him in so much trouble? That might be important in figuring out whether you're the original poster. Daniel went on a racist rant. He used slurs to talk about students of color he didn't like, said things like, "This is why we need segregation again." And he posted it all on his main Snapchat story instead of his private one, where he usually shared that kind of garbage with his racist little friend group. And he left it up for hours. It was an absolute disaster, and in my opinion, he deserved every bit of the backlash. Comment 2. Did your parents do anything about this at all? Was he punished at home? Did he show any remorse? You're definitely not the regardless. I'm just curious, if I were in your parents' shoes, my first step would have been to make my kid fully understand how vile and harmful that behavior was. I'd want him doing community work or something to try to make amends before even thinking about relocating. It really bugs me when parents don't hold their kids accountable for horrible behavior like this. Original poster. Obviously, students of color were really upset and there was backlash. But Daniel just went about them being sensitive snowflakes and social justice warriors. Our parents made him write apology letters to the kids he targeted. But he dragged his feet the whole time and even tried to get me to write one of them for him. He showed zero remorse. His only punishment was being grounded for 2 months, writing those apology letters, and deleting social media, which he re-downloaded 3 weeks later. Our parents let it slide. They're pretty indulgent with him. Comment 3. Do you still have family in City X? Maybe they'd let you stay there. Normally, I wouldn't suggest that. But you shouldn't have to give up your future because your brother screwed up. Original poster. My aunt lives there, but I asked and my parents won't let me live with her. Comment 4. You're not that you're angry, and rightfully so. Do you have any friends or family you can stay with during the week? I know you resent your parents, but they're probably just doing what they think is best to protect their son. Original poster. I know they want to protect him, but I'm their child too. We don't have family in this city and I can't leave anyway right now because of quarantine. Update. Either for snapping at my brother because he's the reason we moved. Hello Reddit. First, thank you so much for the support on my last post. I received a lot of direct messages from people offering debate help and advice, which I really appreciate. I haven't updated until now because, well, a lot has happened. So here's some context. My uncle Randy, not his real name of course, doesn't have kids. But he's been dating my Aunt Rebecca, technically his girlfriend, but it's been 8 years. So we consider her family. They live across the country in City Z. It's not quite as good as City X for debate, but definitely better than City Y. Randy is very well off. I don't know his exact income, but I've been to his house in City Z. It's really nice. And it's not his only one. He's extremely generous. He's already set up college funds for me, Daniel, and Rebecca's younger brother, Ricky. I'd still rather earn a scholarship than use Rise money because I don't want to be a burden. I'm pretty close to Ricky. I tutor him over the phone sometimes. And I talk politics with my uncle regularly. Randy doesn't like Daniel, though. because Daniel has been disrespectful toward Rebecca in the past. So here's what happened. I was helping Ricky with his math homework shortly after posting, and I just broke down crying. I hadn't told anyone how upset I was before because there's so much going on in the world and I didn't want to make it worse. Ricky and I talked and he told me that my parents had told the rest of the family we were moving because Citywide had a better debate circuit. The family believed them because none of them were involved in the debate and didn't question it. I hadn't talked to them about the move because I tend to bottle things up and they assumed I was fine with it. I eventually had a long conversation with my uncle about it. He was furious at my parents and at Daniel. This was basically the last straw for him. He ended up removing half of Daniel's college fund and splitting it between me and Ricky instead. Daniel was furious, especially since he'd been relying on that money and our parents hadn't saved anything else for him. He responded by throwing my phone down the stairs. So, I emailed my uncle from my laptop and he revoked the rest of Daniel's college fund to now. My parents are furious with me because they can't come up with $200,000 in time for Daniel to go to college, but my uncle offered to let me move in with him and Rebecca and City Z, and I accept it. He also generously bought me a new phone, which I'm using to write this update. Edit FAQ. What exactly did your brother do? He posted a racist Snapchat rant to his public story instead of his private one. I don't want to go into more detail than that. Is insert video of racist kid your brother. I'm not going to confirm or deny, but I'm honestly impressed by the variety of racist teenagers vaguely matching Daniel's description that y'all have managed to find. Did your parents agree to let you live with your uncle? Short answer, yes. Long answer, it took a lot of pressure from other family members, but eventually they gave in. I'll still spend holidays with them, and yes, I agree, my uncle is fantastic. I'm a very lucky niece to have him. More relevant comments and OP's replies. Comment 1. Your parents really didn't think this through. Did they assume you'd never talk to anyone in the family? Original poster. Yeah, I don't think they thought it through at all. Everything happened so fast. I think they assumed I'd calm down eventually and go along with the lie. Honestly, I don't really know what they were thinking. Comment 2. Are you safe? Do you think your brother could hurt you? Original poster. I don't think he'd physically attack me. And if he did, I'm sure my parents would intervene. Also, my friend got me a taser for Christmas, so if it ever came to that, I'm prepared. Thanks for your concern, though. Comment 3. That's amazing. When do you get to move? Original poster. Ideally, before the next school year starts, but that depends on how quickly the CO curve flattens. Comment 3 again. How are things at home right now with your parents and brother? Original poster. Daniel mostly ignores me unless he's being passive-aggressive. He'll make a show of walking into another room and slamming the door if we make eye contact, or game with his friends while loudly complaining about his sister. Our rooms are next to each other. My parents are upset. They feel like everything blew up more than they wanted, especially since other relatives are mad they lied. They've calmed down now, but my mom still occasionally begs me to convince my uncle to change his mind. So, I'd say the vibe is frosty on whether Daniel can still go to college. Yes, he can. He might have to take out loans or pick a more affordable school, but given his career goals, he'll definitely be attending college. Did my uncle overreact? Maybe, but it's his money and not my place to decide what he does with it. I am not the original poster. Please do not harass them. Follow subreddit rules, especially rules 1 and 2 when commenting. *.